Very happy to welcome back to Rabbit Hole Sessions the incomparable saxophonist and composer Ned Goold, the wonderful tenor saxophonist. And here he is. Ned, good to see you again.
Okay. Oh, am I on good? All
Oh,
right.
you're on. Yeah. Good
Why
to
is it?
see you,
Yeah,
man.
there's a thing covering this thing. All right, go ahead, bro.
Good to see you.
Yeah, what's up?
All's good. Ned, I won't invite someone back to record a conversation unless I didn't genuinely enjoy speaking with them the first time. It was probably one of the most honest conversations we've had, which brings me to the point of why so many musicians are just afraid to let their guard down and be honest about
Or
basic
or
stuff.
or genuinely get stiffed by somebody else. Sorry. You can edit that out.
No, no. Your honesty reminds me of Marlon Brando. Have you ever seen him in interviews before?
I mean, I saw him like at the Oscars and he was like saying how horrible white people were, so I love that. That was good.
Yeah, he did an interview with
He
Connie
he pulled
Chung.
that off pretty good. Yeah.
He reached another level of enlightenment of just not caring, which is what
I
we
mean, it's hard for white guys, to go into that world and not just sound, completely fucked. But anyway, go
but
ahead, Connie Chung, Connie Chung.
yeah, he did an interview with Connie Chung, and she asks him like, why did you stop making movies or something? And he goes, let me ask you, why did you cross your right over to your left leg instead of your left over to your right? He's like, I don't know, you don't know either. And he's like,
Wow,
he didn't care at all about anything.
made some good movies though.
Oh, the best. We were just having a conversation via text about booking and stuff like that. This is the stuff that everyone deals with on some level, even, younger players to even people who've been doing it for like decades and decades.
Yeah, I don't deal with it at all. Like as far as what booking gigs,
Yeah, I mean, people get frustrated, everyone, with the whole process.
I mean, to tell you the truth, any gig I might have done one gig under my name where people actually knew who I was when they came. I have to seduce an audience every single time. They don't know me, so I just don't even care. I actually hate the audience at some point. It's like it's like an antagonistic relationship. Unless they, start telling me they love me, and then I feel better. But if they don't, I just automatically hate them.
W-
So
would you be just as happy if you got paid to play by yourself in a room? Because I kind of enjoy just playing alone when it's just me and I'm the only listener.
I mean, that's all I've ever done, basically. So it'd be great to get paid to do that. Someone who's going to pay me to do that. I
Yeah,
mean,
one of those
I'm
ones.
pretty good. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. I'm good at that, man. But I'll just like run my system like over and over and over again.
So you talk about a system, which this would be a good thing to talk about because
Yeah, I'm ready.
I was talking with my friend. He's a piano player last week. He's one of my best friends. He plays piano in the United States military band, right? He's
Wow.
he's he's an amazing musician, and we've been working together for probably 15 years. The way we approach improvisation, we were talking on the phone about it for the first time, is we think completely different in terms of creating lines, construction of that, playing big linear stuff, as far as just not being so technical and just being more playing what you hear. But we think so differently. You think it's important to find your own way to play and your own way to figure out how to do this because there really is no one way to do it. And it's almost like if you think that you have it by just copying someone else's system, you might be okay for the short term, but do we have to find our own way to figure out how to do this, improvise?
Well, I mean, my heroes in like any kind of art form in jazz would be people like Dizzy Gillespie or Bird or Big Spiderbeck or Monk, people who like came up with their own thing. So imitating them is not trying to play like them, is trying to come up with your own thing like they did. You know what I'm saying? That if you want to be as good as them, you got to do that. So you got to be like they don't really compare to anybody else. So it's like why would you want to compare? And like my favorite music right now is Schoenberg, and I just listen to him over and over and over again. And he just through all sorts of just rejection. And he didn't like it either. He was real sensitive and real like, he got real butthurt, as they say, a lot. But he just kept going anyway. And he said, I'm the best and fuck you. And he hated people who he like held grudges against people who didn't like him. Him and Stravinsky didn't talk for decades, because he thought Stravinsky sucked, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of, I don't know. I'm compelled to do it. I'm compelled because I did a lot of work. I learned a lot of Bird solos. I learned a lot of Lester Young. I learned a whole lot of Big Spiderbeck solos. I learned Coltrane solos, late Coltrane, and Wayne Shorter with Miles. So even Ornette Coleman, I learned the whole backside of Ornette on tenor, which turns out to be one of my favorite records ever now. I dismissed it, and then recently I got back into it. But
That's awesome.
yeah, it's fucking great. But what was I saying? Anyway, when I get up on stage or whatever to play, and Coleman Hawkins, I learned him too. These are all really different. I learned Monk solos. So every
And
one of
plus,
these
you like
people.
guitar players too. I know you like T-Bone Walker.
Yeah, I haven't learned any of their solos, but I've listened to the shit out of them. So
Well, that gets in your subconscious, and you just start to play
yeah,
ideas
well, on
similar.
guitar, yeah.
Mhm.
So especially on guitar and sax, but so I get up on stage and I have a million choices. Well, can I imitate this guy? Do I do a Lester Young? Do I do Bird now? Do I do Coltrane now? So it's like I decided I'm just going to make up my own way, and I put a limit on what I do. So
Sure.
I have a thing. I'm only allowed to do these six certain notes of this scale, which is half of a whole tones. I mean, of a 12-tone row, and the other half is the same thing upside down. So it's like I came up with this 12-tone thing in 1983, and I've been using it ever since. Everything I've ever done is based on that.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing. And it goes through the cycle. And it's like, and since it's 12 notes, it comes in the shape of like 3/4. Because if I do all the eighth notes, so I put the 3/4. So a six, an 8-bar phrase in three is the same as a 6-bar phrase in four. It equals 24. So it's like, so I phrase the ones in three in feeling of four, and it changes at the seventh bar and then this bar and this bar. And I just have little landmarks that go
Were
between
you
them.
were you coming up with this system as you were like, was this something that came later on? Like, and what I'm asking basically is, were you coming up with this system while you were learning Lester Young and Coltrane, or it came
Yeah,
after that?
it was parallel.
Okay, got it.
I
Yeah.
always had one half. I would practice all my, homework and maintenance work for 3 hours. I would do my latest solo, do long tones for 3 hours, and and then once I got tired, I would like take a hit of weed and and just go back and start and just try and have fun. And I had this thing I would recommend to anybody. I don't like people who say you should do this or you should. I don't think, you know what I mean? I don't like
Yeah, I'm
people
not
like,
down with that. I'm not down with that shit either.
but
Find your way.
I think everybody should do this. It's a Jamie Abersol thing that
Mhm.
I remove the piano, and
Oh,
it's cycles, and it's Ron Carter and Ben Riley. So it sounds great. These guys are great, right? So and they just go through 2 bars of the cycle, no form, over and over. So I practice every lick or everything in each of the keys, all 12 keys, and
so
I
it's like
still
this. It goes in the cycle of fourths, basically.
seventh
Okay,
C, F, B flat, E flat, just around and around and around and around
fourths.
and
Yeah.
around and around in
Mhm.
medium tempo. And so I can play, and I do countdown over it. I can play anytime I see a domino chord, I'm good. I used to do that every day, every day, every day, along with long tones.
Or
It's easy and fun. You're playing with Ron Carter
yeah,
and
that's
Ben
great.
Riley, so it's really fun. But if you're disciplined about it, you can play 2/5 things. You can play things just on the seventh chord. You can play countdown. I could do my system over. It's like, so and it's fun. The secret is to make practicing fun. See, I like when I did like long tones, I would read a book, watch TV,
Yeah, man, I
make
love
it
that.
so it's not painful, man. If it's painful, you're not going to do it.
I have a
You know what
book.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I have a book. It's like all of these. I think it's 120 finger patterns for guitar. One of these books I have out. It's like, and it's not. It's the least musical thing you could possibly do, like at all. But
Right.
this is the type of shit I can do when I'm watching TV or if I have an hour
Yeah.
before a gig and I don't want to. It's funny because like I think those things are helpful, and I knew a lot of guys at Berkeley who did the same shit, and they were playing other styles of music. But there's a lot of jazz musicians, people I've even spoken to. They're like, "Oh, don't do that." I'm like, "This is merely just the technical side of keeping your fingers
It's
working."
athletic, bro.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
you think athletes don't do a lot of like dumb like maintenance things that are really boring and like lifting weights? It's I'm running on the bike when you're watching TV at the same time. It's something you have to do. Like there's a episode of that cartoon show Morty and whatever. A really funny show. Anyway, it was on a and this guy invented this thing where he had an alter ego that would, while he was sleeping, would stay up all night doing sit-ups. So he would wake up with these big like six-pack abs.
Yeah.
But you just kind of have to do this dumb shit.
I
But
mean,
and
it's annoying, but we have to do like
it's not annoying if you find TV a good show to
well, that's it.
watch.
Let me explain.
It's not.
Let me break this down for you, right? So like this past weekend, I was home with my wife and we watched two movies. I watched The Bronx Tale for the first time and The Departed, right? And but I gotta
Yeah.
practice because I got gigs this weekend. So like that whole time those movies are on, I'm like just you know what I mean, just doing exercises.
What do you have, like a solid body that doesn't make any noise?
So what I do is I take a solid body guitar and then I
Yeah,
wrap so basically like let's say that this is the bridge right here and this is
yeah.
where the strings start to come. I'll wrap the strings up in like a napkin or something so it mutes everything. So you can do that. And that way you have the whole neck. But there's also something called the shred neck, which is
I've
basically like,
seen that. I've
yeah, I
seen
have one.
that.
I have those too. I have one
You can
here.
take those on the plane and shit.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a good thing about guitar. You can't do that with any other instrument. I
yeah.
mean, maybe keyboards, I guess,
But
but
it's not like I want to say I would rather just sit there and watch the movie, but I have shit to do. You know what I mean? I want to sound okay, like okay on my gigs, and I have to do
yeah.
this.
Yeah, because once you get out there, you want certain things to come naturally. You don't have to be struggling and shit.
Yeah.
But whatever.
No, but this is we have to do it because we want to just play the stuff we hear so much.
So, all right, so let me explain to you now that I got you here. Because I never get to talk about this shit. Let me explain to you musically what I did. So I came up in '83. I came up with this pattern, and what this pattern is like I was practicing. I was playing a lot of I hated the bebop guys in Pittsburgh. They were real elitist, snobby type assholes who just like thought they were better than
They
everybody
wear
else just
suits
because.
to every gig.
No, that's New York. It was before that, but anyway, they just I wasn't that good as they had learned more solos. I mean, I was like ninth, whatever, and so I used to like have sessions with rock guys, and we would like have the attitude of like late '60s like jam kind of thing, and just just get real high and just play all day. So, but I was into Hendrix, and I always reckon that the one thing, if anybody asks what if I have any kind of like insight to music that I see better, it's like to me, it's so obvious what is good about American music that makes American music what it is the dominant chord as one. It's so obvious. Like if you go back to the '20s, all those tunes go through the cycle. It's about dominant bebop. It's about dominant cycles. It's all about James Brown blues. It's all about dominant. That's what makes it upbeat and not serious. It's not serious music. It's like when it starts getting deep, then on my brain, that's when I turn it off. I mean, I'll go listen to bar talk or something. So anyway, I was Hendrix plays, boom, boom, bing, the raised nine chord, right? But
The
when he's
seven, the seven sharp nine Hendrix
yeah,
chord.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's not his chord, but it's the one that he
They
he
call it the
likes.
guitar players call it the Hendrix
Yeah,
chord.
because that's Foxy Lady. Yeah. So but he didn't like play bebop over it. He played blues over it, right? But you know what bebop guys did over a dominant chord is play the diminished scale. So I was taking my sax, I had effects and everything. So I would play over that chord diminished, like, and the diminished is like four triads in four different keys, So I would have made up all these patterns. I wrote a tune that I still play that is based on diminished. So that was then I started like messing around with that Love Supreme thing. Bo be, bo be,
Hmm.
bo be. And I now in my latest thing I call that the blues triad. Because if you take the seventh of that and move it a flat fifth, that's a major triad.
E
So you
G
take the
A or
third,
whatever. That's Love Supreme. I think Love Supreme. I don't know if it's E. It's E G E A or something.
whatever, yeah, whatever key. So I did that scale, but I was also into the diminished thing and playing on the Hendrix. So I took those three notes and I played them, made a scale out of them, plus a flat fifth away.
Hmm.
Those are six notes. And then one day in New York, I'm giving away all my stuff here, but whatever, nobody cares. So one day in New
No,
York,
people care, but are they going to actually sit down and do it? Is the
no,
question.
I mean, maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. But anyway, one day in New York, I was playing that going up, and then I went up a whole step because I was into Bartok and his piece, the piece for percussion and celeste, and it's this really famous, super killer Bartok piece. And the first the first movement had things going one way, and then he turns it upside down, which is an old thing from Bach. He used to do that, and people way before him did that. But so I so I took the thing, I went up a step, and I turned it upside down, and so I did the intervals upside down, and that scale fills in 12 tones.
Hmm.
And I was into like Schoenberg too, so it's like that was my moment, and from then on, I just figured out more and more about the scale and what the actual roots are, and I use tunes like Euclid. I use tunes to prove the next thing that I figured out. So I would figure a thing out, and then I would make a tune of that thing, and I still play those tunes to this day, and they're all recorded too.
Yeah. The way you're
So
talking
and
about it,
but if,
you sound as passionate about it, as ever. So, because I remember the
yeah.
last time we spoke, you seemed, you were just getting back into practicing, but now you sound like you're going full speed when you're talking about
Yeah, I'm actually jumping back into like shit I did like was into 20 years ago.
it. Hmm.
And like it's more just basically putting these things. I have certain patterns that I put over top of standard changes.
Yeah.
And so I'm just doing that.
When we get off of here, I'm going to ask you about some of the concepts I've been writing out. If you think it would translate to saxophone, if you may have thought similar, because I'm still testing them out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I'll ask you about
Sure.
it.
Sure.
And we were also, you were saying too about in the last interview when we spoke that you just can't stand minor.
No, I mean I like minor like when Bach does it.
Yeah.
I like minor with a major seven, which means that the five chord is in there. I don't like minor with a flat
We're
seven.
talking about so you're not, so the Dorian mode is just, you're not.
Yeah, it's like no, like for basic standards, like soft leaves in the morning sunrise, I don't like. That's just, I mean, even though you do the five in it, it's just like minor, minor, minor. But yesterday's I love
Mhm.
because yesterday's gets to a point where it goes around the cycle really cool.
Well,
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, you can,
but
like,
I
if you're
just don't
playing.
like minor in itself. You know
No,
what
but
I'm
that's it.
saying?
I mean, it's one thing if you're playing softly and you're playing for every B, you're playing, I mean, for every time you want to use the note B, you're playing B flat, but you can go back and forth between the two and use chromatics and that sort of thing. But if
I
you're
know
just,
you can. I don't like. I'm not saying Sigmund Romberg is a bum or anything. I just it just doesn't appeal to me. Like I don't like the song Bebop, right? And I'm a bebop guy because that's minor, but it's all minor, 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 minor. And I don't like what's the one by Bird?
segment,
Yeah, I don't like Segment either. I think that's the laziest, lamest bebop tune. I hate that. I
do you
mean,
like,
Bird will always write a great melody. That's obvious, but I hate that one too.
do
I
you
mean, not
like,
hate, but my girlfriend does a Latin version of it that's really nice. But I don't like that one.
Do you like minor blues?
No,
Okay.
no. I hate like BB King will play like the
No,
Thrill Is Gone.
I'm talking about
I
blues
know,
or
but I'm
Brooks
saying,
works.
well, I love Dizzy. I'll make an exception with that. But the and I like the flat six chord going to the five. But like, what was I about to say?
Well, you were talking about your girlfriend, so
No, after that, no minor blues. Like when BB King plays the Thrill Is Gone, I don't like that
okay.
because when you make it minor, you, there's no choices left. Like blues is, I mean, I'll, ta
Ah, there we go.
blues is like, wait,
It's not gonna come through, Ned, unless you turn on the original sound for musicians.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
That's a setting, a Zoom setting. You have to go into your settings to.
Oh, all right, never mind. Damn, that's disappointing. I got excited. All right. Anyway,
I mean, it looks cool visually, but we want to
no,
hear.
no, no. I could demonstrate it perfectly, but anyway, you got to have both. Like I have this all worked out scientifically. Like, like the note, the note that if you have one note that'll tell you the key that you're in, it's the neutral third because you got the third and the minor third as one note because it's in the middle of it. So that's the only like if it's a B flat and B, that's the only note that fits in G.
Mhm.
And so if you have a G, that could be in any key. You know what I'm saying? But that note can only be in G. So that's the center of the tonality, the neutral third. So I have all this shit written out, but it's a big mess. It's like soup. I have this thick, two books this thick of notes about this. Probably 80% is like, dribble. But anyway.
Well, no, but that's how
Well,
you get to play the way you play. That's how you have your
this
freedom.
is this is this is this came about like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like one day I was walking down the street and I was thinking about harmony and like if you read these harmony books like by Hindemith or Schoenberg or whatever, they write basic treatises of harmony. They always start in the beginning of with nothing. They start with one note. And then they say the most common interval is a fifth after the octave. The fifth is the most basic interval. So they build their scales on fifths. So actually, the diatonic scale, its bottom note is the four. It's not so that's why it's unstable, and that's why it works so well as something that you have to keep changing and stuff. Like if you take a scale that's a Lydian scale, that's the natural scale. You can lay on that all day. You know what I mean?
Lay on the
So
Lydian, but don't lay on Ionian.
I know Ionian, it's not it's unstable.
Well, if that
But
sounds good, if you're a student, you want to teach your student how to play the Star Spangled Banner, that's one thing, but not for jazz. It doesn't work, as you said before. You don't think it works.
I don't know. I don't know. But so anyway, so I made my scales. But you know how Bird like or jazz, I can't play. I have my horn here too. But he'll play like boo 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 dee boo dee boo be major like but and then it'll go boo bee bee dee bee da ba ba da da. So it's like and blues do it too. Boo boo bee boo ba dee ba da ba da. So it's like major up and minor pentatonic down. So
Yeah.
so I figured out if you stack the scales, I always talk in G for whatever reason, So you got G and D, right?
Hmm.
So so if you want to make the major pentatonic, you go G, D, A, E, B. You stack five, that pentatonic is five fifths. That's why it's so pure sounding. But if you want to do the minor one, you go D, G, C, F, B flat. So major is one up and minor is five down.
Mm.
So, and there's all these great symmetries that come out of it. It's really because that was my second revelation. But it's actually turns out the first one is more complicated, but the first one is just the end result of the second one. The second one is the basic beginning. So my system is based on country blues. So it's like country
I
blues.
love the way you're talking about this though, because you say it in two words, your system. You have to find your system if you want to.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you have to. I do.
No,
I'm
but I
compelled.
feel
I'm
this. I feel
compelled
this.
to.
I feel the same way about myself. I mean, I've played a lot of licks from Pat Martino and Grant Green, but at the end of the day, when I
And
improvise,
they're both really great,
I have to think completely fucking differently, you know? That's just the truth. I have to think about my own way, like the patterns that I use to surround chord tones, the certain way I group arpeggios, whatnot, as opposed to just playing
Yeah.
the cliche line using them. Like, but I don't know. I think it's this is maybe this is something that people are afraid to do is find their own system because there is a lot of failure in it because you're working it out as opposed to
I mean,
just
it's a high order of difficulty. You know what I mean? Like when a guy is diving at the Olympics, he could do a low order of difficulty and get a 10. But, like imitating people and doing an imitation, that's low order of difficulty. If you do a high order of difficulty, if you get a 10, then you're good. But
yeah.
most of the time, you're going to bang your head on the diving board. It's like to make something original legit.
I
It's
feel like
like,
you respect someone more who like versus someone who's just a killing player but just imitates everything. Like
I
you
could
some
do that.
what?
I could do that.
No, I'm
I'd
saying
rather be,
you respect someone who doesn't do that and they're at least trying new things on the
yeah,
stage that is own.
well, yeah, I'll try new things in general, the way they play. Yeah. It's not easy.
It's
You know,
so
li-
hard.
I mean, if you look in history, there's only a few guys can pull it off, and the rest. But it's like it's also kind of hard to be a good imitator too. Like, I was looking at Instagram and they put up that Connection thing, the movie, The Connection. You ever seen that?
I know
It's good, man. It's like it came up on my feed, and it's a movie about junkies.
oh
And
yeah.
in one way, it shows how integral heroin is to bebop. But in another way, Jackie McLean is in it, and he's the best. He doesn't even try to do something new. He said, "Look, I'm just going to imitate Bird," and he did a. I mean, I don't consider him on the tier, but he's great. And early Coltrane, when he's all high on heroin and drunk and shit, it's my favorite Coltrane. So, and
You
I
like
was
when he
listening
did
to
that
him
you like
today.
the three saxophone album, you know.
If it's in which one with Johnny Griffin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he always is the best to me
Well,
in
what's
those
interesting about
days.
I don't know what tune it is, but he plays the tune where it's like he starts the solo off like super crazy, like very dense, like a lot of notes, and then the next chorus is like playing super simply. It's like or the
I,
this it seems like some
I always like him, even though there's certain periods I don't like as much as others. But and Miles said the same thing. Interestingly enough, in his book, he didn't like Coltrane later in his later band. He liked him much better earlier, and I agree with him. I totally agree
do you
with
like
him.
when Coltrane played with Miles though in that band, that
in
touring
50
band?
in 56. He also played later, when Wynton Kelly and them were in the band.
I'm talking about Jimmy Cobb, Paul
No,
Chambers.
not nearly as much as 56, when he was like super high and he was strung out and he was an alcoholic. And he was like getting to the gigs like all, wrinkled up and late and shit. And Miles was punching him backstage. But, if you listen to bootlegs from that band, or even those records, it's super funky, man.
Like the
It's like,
bootlegs when they play like so what up tempo, like that type of
not
stuff.
so what? No, what before so what? Like when they're playing the repertoire from the 56 band.
Oh, okay.
There are bootlegs of it. That's when that to me and even though I don't like that nearly as much as like the 40s great beboppers, I think it's like secondhand bebop, even though Miles was there at first. And another thing about like the only people who made the great music of the 60s are like Coltrane and Miles. They're both original beboppers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like the guys who are younger and came later, just don't have their foot in that, and
Do you
like
like the it's with there's a
Joe
boot
Henderson's an original bebopper
oh
too.
yeah, Joe Henderson is I mean
And
that's
he goes way back.
yeah. The Miles with Coltrane playing that like their arrangement of Round Midnight
Yeah,
on
I don't like it as
bootlegs.
much as I don't like it as much as Monk's arrangement.
Okay.
I kind of get bugged when people do the Miles one, but as opposed to the original, the Monk one. But Monk didn't like that arrangement either. So yeah, that's the band though. That's the band. But to tell you the truth, my favorite Miles is with Bird, and then the like Miles in the Sky, and when he started getting into funk, I love Bitches Brew.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
dig Jack Johnson. I love On the Corner. I love like Live at the Isle of Wight. Like he's the only guy who played fusion well. The rest of it you could throw in the trash unless you could play me something. But you know, he's the man.
Have you seen
Nobody
the
else could do
Miles
it.
Davis movie with Don Cheadle?
Yeah, I kind of liked it. I mean, it's kind of crazy,
And
but
well, at the end, they have him playing with Wayne Shorter and Herbie and Esperanza Spalding and Antonio Sanchez. It's
let me tell you something about those guys. There was a big tribute to Herbie Hancock at the Kennedy Center during Obama's administration, and it was like had all these guys up there, Wayne. It was all a thing to Herbie, but Herbie also supposedly contributed to hip hop too somehow, maybe with his rock. I don't know exactly
we
how.
did that album Possibilities, and he played with like Trey Anastasio and John Mayer.
So but was it that doesn't seem early enough though, John
No, this
Mayer,
is in
but
the 2000s. This is
no,
2000.
he somehow in the early 80s he
Okay.
influenced hip hop in some seminal way, which I don't know about, So that tune Rocket was a hit. So anyway, all these guys played, blah, blah, blah. And Snoop Dogg comes out and kicked all their ass completely in one note. Because he was like swinging, man. It was just like about grooving, which is what they used to do.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's one.
Do
But yeah,
musicians take themselves too seriously?
I don't know.
I think take the music seriously, but you don't have to be, you don't have to translate that into like being a serious person like all the time. Cause I like to
Uh,
laugh, you know what I mean? I like to enjoy myself.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I never go out or anything. So like I mean the people I know seem okay. Like I just think a lot of guys just really aren't that. I mean, can I be honest? Just aren't that smart. And I don't think they take themselves too serious. I just don't think they can hear something deep. But maybe I'm wrong. And that sounds real fucking nasty, but
No, I don't think it sounds nasty.
I mean,
Mm.
I think they just I don't think they can hear it. I mean, it's like I said, I hear the dominant chord, and my whole thing, like all the tunes I wrote, pretty much are all dominant chord, all dominant chord.
I'm trying to get a quartet gig to call you, and we're gonna play dominant, we'll play 1 to 4, dominant and
We
enjoy
could
it.
do that. We could do that. I'll bring
I
my
love
wall
that.
of it. My
Well, I
wall
love
of
that stuff.
it's broken now, but yeah, I'll bring my guitar too if you want to play funk. I can't
Yeah.
play jazz. I can't play jazz, but I'm like, I'll send you. Have you heard my record with me playing? I mean, my guitar record is
I
kind of
haven't heard
fun,
the guitar stuff. No.
but there's a record. You know Andrew Renfro?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's on my two of my records,
He's a
and
beast.
so so I did a record with him, and tell me who wins. Like there's a track where we played two guitars.
You
And
played like blues? Like was it blues
yeah,
song?
yeah.
Oh,
You
you
tell
sent
me
it to
who.
me.
You tell me who wins.
Okay. No, on that note, Ned, I got to split, but yo,
All right,
great to
man.
talk,
Sorry
man.
if I ran my mouth too much.
No, you're the best.
All right, bro.